Bonjour and welcome back to Seaside Garage. This car is getting really close now to being MOT ready. In my eyes at least, you never know. Once you get to the station they might think otherwise, but I think all the rust is now fixed. I need to treat the underneath. What I have done so far is went around scraping off all the rusty paint and rust stuff. Then I have painted the rusty areas with something called Overtrol oil. I'm not sponsored. I wish I were though, because it seems to be a really brilliant product. It stops the rust and it also makes it a good surface to paint on afterwards, so it seems really clever. It's not a rust converter per se, but I like it so far. I don't know how it is long term, but so far it seems really good. On top of that I have painted it. The last thing I want to do is to give it some spray black undercarriage protection wax kind of stuff, because I'm going to drive this car in the winter time and there is a lot of salt on the roads in Denmark at this time of year. So I'm going to give it that wax to protect it as much as possible. I always have a hard time deciding to do that or not to do that, because when you put that wax on, it will be very difficult for moisture and rust to get to the metal. But if it gets to it, you won't notice before it's really bad. But I've decided to do it anyway on this one. But firstly, I want to start the engine up because I want to bleed the brakes. And on a Citroen, it's a bit different than normally. And it's a lot easier for a guy like me because I like to work alone. And bleeding brakes is always a bit of a problem when you are working alone, because it's easier if you have someone to step on the brake pedal. Because when you step on the brake pedal, in a normal car, you will build up pressure. So with the pedal down, you can open up the bleed nipple and the brake fluid will stream out of there. On this one it's different because there is just a reservoir of hydraulic pressure. And when you press the brake pedal, you open up a valve that leads the pressure to the wheels. So all I need to do is to start the engine up so I can get that pressure and maintain the pressure. Then I just need something to press on the brake pedal, and pressure will just constantly be at all the calibers. I don't have to pump it at all. I just need to go around and open up the bleeder nipples and then it should be good. So let's do that. As shown in the previous video, or a couple of videos ago, I took the pressure out of the system by opening the main bleed screw in the system. That one needs to be undone still. Now I'm going to mount some tubing on the bleed screws and put them into a clean container. Then I'm going to start the car up, and then I'm going to close that main bleed screw, and then it will start to drain out from here. When it comes out clean and nice, I will then close them up, and afterwards we will go to the rear. I put a bar in between the seat and the brake pedal to keep it depressed, and then I'm going to start it up. And then I'm going to close the bleeding screw. And fit this one. Right here. And then open up the bleed screw. And oil is coming out now. I'm just waiting for it to clear out and have no air bubbles and be clean. It looks about there. You can see it's running pretty quickly. And I need to close it up and make sure that it doesn't leak. There we go. It looks like it's leak free. Need to find a cap for this. That'll be later. Let's go to the other side. There we go, it's clean. If you have bled normal brakes before, you will notice that this goes really quickly. It's just a matter of seconds and it just fills up. There is a lot of pressure, which is why these brakes are so efficient. And well, they are not more efficient than normal brakes, they are just more powerful quickly. So you'll have to learn to use them. The rear is a little bit different. I'm going to take the pressure out of the system once again. Then I'm going to put the suspension mode in the lowest setting. And when it's all lowered, even though it's on the lift, I would put it in the highest setting with the engine running. Then I'm going to close the bleed screw and then I should be able to bleed it. The reason why I have to do it like this is that the suspension is connected with the brake system. So with no weight in the rear, it won't really brake at the rear. Therefore, it would be very difficult to bleed it. So by doing it this way, I should be able to fool it into thinking there is some weight in the rear. Or that's how I understand it, but I'm going to do that now. Now let's see if that works. There we go. And all air seems to be out of the system. I'm just going to do the same on the other side. So with the brakes done, let's tend to something else that is a problem. This is the exhaust that is running right up underneath the rear axle. As you can see, I think it's actually rust-free, stainless steel, but something has happened in this area. There is supposed to be a bracket here that goes to the hooks above to suspend the exhaust. It's currently broken. It's just hanging at the front end and all the way at the rear end, so I'm going to have to make something there. But another thing, and I think you can see it on, yeah, you can actually see it now. Water is getting out of there because of condensation, but there's not supposed to be a hole right there, and there's also a hole right there. Other than that, it seems really solid, so I think a piece of metal has been clamped together with this as the bracket, and then it has developed some small pinholes. So I'm going to try to just weld them all up, because I could imagine it's going to be very expensive to change this part of the exhaust system, because it ends up in a big catalytic converter down there. Of course, I could just weld the pipe up, but weld another piece of pipe up, but I would like to just try to weld this up instead. So let's try that. Firstly, I'm going to clean up around the hole. I'm not sure this repair will last for a long time, because you might see a lot of small pinholes, but they are not going all the way through. It's just in the top layer. But this one, for instance, is going all the way. So I'm just going to weld this up, and then hopefully it will last for a while. I might end up having to repair it a bit better, or maybe change the exhaust down the line. We'll just have to see. But I'm just going to try to weld this piece up like this. That seemed to have revealed another hole right there. Yep. So I'm just going to weld that one up also. Like that. And I'm just going to continue on this route until I see no more holes. It's not very noisy, so it's not that bad, but it needs to be pretty much completely tight to pass the pollution test. I'm just going to continue on doing that. So it is not pretty, and this will come back to haunt me at some point, I'm sure. But right now I think it's leak-free at least, and I tacked on. I decided I didn't need to weld this pretty. So now, in case something fails along the rest of the exhaust system, it won't fall down at least, so that's good enough. But I think I will have to revisit this at some point, either change the pipe completely or change some of it. But it will just have to do for now at least. Next issue is up here. I don't know if you can see it, but this is very yellow comparing it to the other light, and that's because all the reflective surface in the actual lamp in there is gone. But luckily for me, I got something, because the guy I bought this car from gave me this, and it's perfect inside. Unfortunately, there is no glass on it, but it's lying over there, so I'm just gonna glue that in. So let's try to remove the old lamp and then fit this one. I wonder how that is fitted. I can check that on the old one. It looks like I can just spin this one. Like that. And one down there also. Like that. And then we can just install this one. And now it's ready. I have put some glue on. I'm getting ready to put the glass on. I could have cleaned everything inside there up a lot better. I cleaned the inside of the glass. I haven't cleaned the outside because it doesn't really matter right now. But I just want to address one thing. I am rushing this project a little bit at the moment, both the car and the videos. And that is because currently I don't have a car to drive in because I took the number plates off the camper van because it's way too expensive in the road tax. So I really want this car onto the road because I would like to go somewhere from time to time. I still have the Abarth on number plates, by the way, but yeah, I can drive that, but there is a lot of salt on the road and all that. I could also just go ahead and buy a Citroen C1 or something cheap to run through the winter, but I have just come to the conclusion that my life seems to be disappearing when I drive boring cars. I don't know what it is, but it's a big part of the motivation in daily life for me. The whole experience about the car is so important that if that disappears and it's just a gray, boring car, it just takes so much color away from my daily life. I'd much rather drive an unreliable old classic car, and I might even not get to my destination every time, than to drive something boring. It's just, classic cars is just such a big part of my life. The thought of driving around in something boring, I much rather just walk then. So I'm rushing this a little bit because I need to go to the local Biltema, and it's a long walk from here. Biltema is the Danish version of, I don't even know what they are called in other places, but it's the Blue Church, we call it, because it's just a place with a lot of spare parts for cars. I love to go there. Anyway, let's put this glass on. I should have done that before putting it into the car. I now notice, but I think I got it. It just needs to cure, and then it should be stuck. But there's also a problem back here. Not good either. But once again, look what I got. So let's just swap that over. Once again, it's just so nice to work on these cars. I just love to work on this car because some of the designs are just so easy to work with and fix. I like it. I like it a lot. Like that. But let's check if it all works. Ignition on. Let's check the indicator. That works also. What about the brake light? That is also working. Nice. So everything seems to work. The last thing I want to do in this video is I'm going to protect the underneath and all the rust areas with the wax I was talking about earlier. And then, yeah, that will be all for this video. Next video will be most likely a test drive of the car before the MOT. Maybe it will just be after the MOT, we'll just have to see. But I think it's pretty much ready now. So this is getting so close to at least another test drive to check that everything is all right. So thank you for watching and see you in the next one.